All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the 14th installment of the PokeMMO podcast. Now, I know it has been a very long time since my last upload of these podcasts, a lot of real life complications, but I feel like I make that excuse a lot. So, I am hopefully getting things restarted. I've got a few guests lined up, and today we actually have Best Friends or RoyRogersNews, if you know him. I'd be shocked if he didn't. He's been a staple of the community, whether it be on the forums or on YouTube with his amazing guides. I'll make sure to have links to everything in the description below. But he is the unofficial, or I guess the official mayor of PokeMMO, which is super cool. It was super great chatting with him. He's a really cool guy, so I hope that you guys enjoy this episode. And hopefully, if you are looking forward to more episodes of the PokeMMO podcast, just shoot me a comment down below. Let me know, is this something that you guys look forward to? But thanks again for being here, and let's jump right into it. Again, the catch event of the week, as well as the forum post of the week and the YouTube video of the week, will be towards the end of the video, so you can scrub if you want to see that. But let's get into this interview with RoyRogersNews. All right. Well, again, best friends, thank you for being willing to hop on the podcast. We're gonna call this take one, even though we did record it in the past. For everyone else to know, we recorded an awesome episode of the podcast. We chatted, and then the file was corrupted, so it has been postponed by my negligence and just busy life. But I'm happy that he's back. Stoked to have him back on the channel. Thank you again um, for being here, best friends. I always appreciate you. But how have you been? What's been going on with you?
Yeah, I'm doing all right, and it's an honor to be on your airwaves, Young Cabbage. I remember I was trying to promote you early on when you did the Apricorn video. In fact, I featured you in my Johto playthrough. I think in my last episodes, I featured your video. So you did a really great job with the Apricorn video. And yeah, and I'm doing all right. And yeah, just a lot of stuff going on PokeMMO. So a lot of
That's
stuff.
awesome, man.
Yeah, the game never sleeps. That's one thing you gotta know. It's just like New York City. New York City never sleeps. Pokemon never sleeps either, you know?
Never. Yeah, there's always something to do. There's too much. There's too much to do in a good way, is like how
Oh,
I
yeah.
like to put it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, man. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself, your channel, and kind of like what you're currently doing on PokeMMO. What's filling your time?
That's a good question. So currently what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to shuffle my time between trying to fix guides, and try to plan for videos, film membership videos, which by the way, I do Pokemon walkthroughs now on my YouTube membership program on Roy Rogers News. And yeah, just trying to juggle that all around. And also on Discord, I try to catch up with some people too. And I try to see, all right, is this person going to be a good co-host? This person not going to be a good co-host, and I try to measure that in real time as well. Just a lot of stuff going on. So, yes, how about you, Cabbage? What have you been up to?
Yeah, I mean, life's been kind of, excuse me, life's been kind of crazy, but recently I was thinking about kind of different goals I wanted to go for on the game, and it's very ambitious, but my biggest goal whenever I first started was to get the ghost costume. I'm always in love with like Halloween cosmetics. I don't know why, and ghosts in particular, like in just about every game that I play, like in high school, whenever I was really into Fortnite and like different games I've played, I've like always chosen either like gingerbread cosmetics or Halloween like ghost kind of cosmetics, as silly as that sounds. And I remember when I first started, that was my first big goal. I saw that cosmetic and I was like, oh, I want to get that. It's like, I don't know how much, 800 million Pokeyen is, but hopefully I can save up that amount. And I didn't realize what a lofty goal it was. But now that I'm more established in the game and I've made some cool investments and I've have some money making methods, tied down that I've been doing, that's kind of my main focus right now is just that. And then shiny hunting on the side whenever I start to lose my mind, money grinding. So that's kind of been the big update for me in game, I guess.
Yeah, that's great. And actually, do you mind if I kind of segue into my payday video? Because you made a
Hmm.
really excellent pivot there. So I want to
Yeah.
talk briefly about the payday. So top 10 payday mons. Since I'm the author of the guide, I figured, hey, why don't I do a top 10? And there's a little bit of some future proofing in there. I do talk a little bit about Mew because knowing the devs, they have it in Maramoto set. There's a likelihood that Mew may be implemented. It's just a matter of when, not if.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's cool. And for anyone who hasn't seen that video or hasn't even seen, I don't know, if you play PokeMMO, you probably have seen the Roy Rogers News channel, let's be honest. But his YouTube is phenomenal. He has a lot of great guides. If you ever go on the PokeMMO forums, you're bound to bounce into one of his guides. Like he puts a lot of love and energy into it. So especially like things like the payday video, he just really you recently released a ditto farming video with a strategy that you came up with. Do you want to talk about that a little bit and how you kind of developed that?
Yeah, so basically, I was sick and tired of running away from these Whismers and Loudreds, and I said to myself, can I payday these things? And then with Ditto, I can have a completely separate catching strategy. And so that's when I came up with False Swipe Substitute for Ditto, right? Because Substitute blocks Transform. And
Mhm.
then for the Whismer and Loudred, I decided to get Payday in there. Now, Spore is also a good catching move too. And what happened was that if you do encounter a shiny Ditto, I actually have a method for that as well. In fact, I mentioned in the video, pull up Eradicate with moves that don't hurt Pokemon at all. Moves like Tail Whip, Screech, and Captivate. I'm forgetting the fourth move, but it can come to me. But yeah, that's basically my strategy for Shiny Ditto. And I like to have like two, three, four of these Smeargles in my team, so that way I can be able to have field longevity. So just in case I run out of substitute PP, I can be able to pull out another Smeargle. So that's one of the things I like about this strategy is that you can be able to prevent Ditto from transforming, and at the same time, I can be able to payday Whismer and Labrid, so they're not chopped liver.
No, that's awesome. I'm sure a lot of the people who have phased on shiny Whismers and Loudreds would love to payday a few of them. So that sounds like a really creative strategy, though, just utilizing payday. It's similar to the Vaporeon one that got a lot of traction a few months ago before they nerfed the netball strategy for it, where like you would get the payday money as well as the money for the Dittos. So I mean it's turning into a really good like money per hour, I would say, in game.
Yeah, certainly. Although there is sort of a derivation of that Vaporeon strategy, and people like to use Espeon with their desired nature. They just
Mhm.
use Payday with the Espeon, but that's not my strategy. I need to seek out permission from the original author of that strategy, so that's why I decided to come up with my own. But I do
Mhm.
want to say this that unlike the Espeon strategy, you can be able to payday those Whismers and Loudreds. You don't have to view them and say, okay, I'm going to go away from this now.
Yeah, because then it removes the feeling of like I guess what you could call wasted time. Of oh great, I encountered a Whismer, now I need to run away from it. Instead, it's like every encounter you're benefiting from, even if it is a Whismer, you're at least getting like the money from payday. So that way you aren't like upset whenever you aren't encountering Dittos, right?
Yeah, and the only real encounter you're actually running away from is the horde of Loudreds, but that's really about it. That's the only encounter you would actually have to run away from.
Gotcha. I always forget there's hordes down there too.
Yeah, although they do pop up pretty rarely, thankfully.
Yeah, thank goodness. Otherwise, that would be a frustrating thing to get away from. But that's
Oh yeah.
awesome though, man. But so let's go. I know we talked about it during the first time, but again, unfortunately, because that recording was destroyed, I want to talk a little bit about what motivated you to start making content like forums and videos for PokeMMO and just kind of like your journey with not only like the content creation side of things, but how you've kind of fallen in love with the game and what motivates you to keep playing after all this time.
I'm gonna have to split that answer into two segments because one is my noob self, so that'd be 2013, and then there'd be more of my YouTube establishment self in 2014 and onward. So the noob self of me, I found PokeMMO from a video that the Jaywitz made on his YouTube channel. Where I said, I gotta get this Pokemon MMO. And I got it, and I played it, but I had to take some months off because of academic reasons. However, I did come back in 2014 because I wanted to launch a YouTube channel and the like, and I didn't want to pay like 300, $400 for the capture kit for the 3DS.
Mhm.
But yeah, I found Pokemon and I said, hey, why don't I just play Pokemon a bit? And I did YouTube on it, and now I'm enjoying myself here. And as for the forums and everything, so yeah, while I was doing videos and the like, I said to myself, hey, there might be some information people might not know about. So I wanted to try to do guides and the like. But actually, I was introduced to the idea via Node, the player Node. You might see her
Hmm.
on forums from time to time, but yeah, when I say that you're going to see her on forums from time to time, I mean like you might see her in the rules and that sort of thing. That's because she was a former staff member, but she is long retired now, and I wish her all the best. But Node kind of got me into guide writing and the like because what happened was that she was actually constructing a TM guide, and I kept giving her feedback like, "Hey, this is where you get this TM. This is where you get this TM,"
Hmm.
and I guess out of a sense of frustration, I guess Node kind of threw her hands up, figuratively speaking, and she's like, "Would you like to just work on this TM guide?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, yeah, well, let me have it." And I did, and I worked on the TM guide. I left some pictures that she had, so you might see a little remnant of her work there. But also at the same time, I put in some pictures as well, and now that guide encompasses Kanto, Hoenn, Sinnoh, Unova, and Johto. So all five of the regions, you get to see a list of the TMs and like. So it's something that I am very happy about with that very first guide. But that's not the first guide I originally authored. That's the first guide that I've taken over for somebody. The first guide that I've actually authored is the volcanic ash guide. That's the very first one that I did. And the reason why I did is because I remember with the secret bases, there's some people that ask, this was back when Hoenn was implemented for the first time on
Yeah.
PokeMMO. And what happened was that my secret base, I had a studio and it had like a glass table. And people ask me like, how did you get that glass table? How did you get it? Well, first off, it's called the pretty desk. And secondly, how you get it yeah, technically, how you get it is you go to Fall Arbor, then you go east, and you go into that route. Forgetting the name of the route, but you go east, you go into that route with all that ashes, and I counted every single little ash place, so that way you could be able to track that in real time, and you could be able to say, hey, let me go in and try to get that suit and all that. But anyways, so that's my very first guide, and then eventually I tied it into my secret base guide a few years later, and people ask about that, so I tie that into that guide, and you know it's just kind of sometimes I like to make my guides into sort of a hub. So
Hmm.
like, hey, I wrote a guide about this. Let me go ahead and attach it to this. Stuff
Yeah.
like that.
No, that's really cool. I imagine it makes it pretty cohesive too, where especially at your point, you've created so many amazing guides. I think I told you this last time, but my favorite guide of yours was the Vanity Index because for me personally, in any game that I play, especially like an MMO style, I usually go for like silly kind of vanities. Like I said, I love like the holiday ones. And so scrolling through your vanity guide, it was really really informative for me, who was a new player at the time, to go through, and it helped me set different goals to see what kind of cool vanities they were. If they were vanities I could still even obtain with Pokien or from the GTL or whatever it was. And it's, I mean, that's one of the, I mean, I would probably hundreds of guides that you've put out there that, and I've even seen some of your guides on the forums, like you're saying, where they're very cohesive with each other. And it's, if, for example, like your X-ray one, right? Like you have this incredible documentation of all of these different team, like Elite Four members and gym leaders and all these different cool teams, and we now know all their move sets and this. So as like a new player wanting to get into gym runs or wanting to understand the Elite Four and how to beat it for a storyline run, we have these guides that are almost like linked together. If that, I don't know if I'm describing that well, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and going on to the X-ray guide, that took me about 2 or 3 years to fully document because I had to literally build a team from scratch. Like I have to get these imposter dittos, then I have to get the Trace Curla or Trace Porygon 2, and then I gotta
Mhm.
get a Frisk Pokemon, and then I have to have them run the story with me. It's not as efficient because I can't have my Mold Breaker Mon or my Moxie Mon running around with me,
Yeah.
but you know, but I'm willing to take one for the team, and I'm willing to let my region run a little longer because I'm trying to write down stuff in real time. I write down the ability, the item moves, and then I put that in the guide. Sometimes there are certain cases where you can't transform into them. and so you have to document the moves on eyesight there.
Mhm.
As an example, so Garatina, I had to eyeball Garatina's moveset. Say, okay, so it uses this, the M move that I can't pronounce at the moment, and
Yeah.
it uses Drag Below, which I figured is a ground type move because it likes to pull a lot of steel type mons. And then the other two moves are just your normal everyday Shadow Force, which, as you all may know, that essentially the Pokemon vanishes for one turn, and then it kind of strikes a second turn, but it's like a physical ghost type move. It's works
Mhm.
just like in the original games, and Dragon Pulse works just like how it does in the original games as well. So I put that down. That's Giratina's move set that I gave you
That's
there.
awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, and the ability is levitate, and it doesn't have any item. And I'm just going off of memory. I'm not checking the guide here, so it's just
Mhm.
I had to scout Garatina for a little bit. So I
Oh,
had
I'm sure some of these are ingrained in your brain, huh? Because you had to do them so many times.
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, there's Garatina. Gyarados is a little harder because Gyarados wasn't as difficult. But let's see if I can remember it. So Gyarados has Monsoon, I think, if as an ability, if I recall correctly. It doesn't have any item, and its moves are. Let me see here. I think it's some sort of water move, Thunderbolt, or not Thunderbolt, Thunder, and I'm forgetting maybe Hurricane or something, and then Dragon Rush with a star, and essentially hits all your teammates there. But yeah, I think that Gyarados has Waterfall, but I could be wrong on that. You might want to check the guide on that.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, the fact that you've recalled that much from just your memory is incredible. But it's so cool too, and this actually brings me to a point I wanted to chat about today, because which just to kind of even tie a little bow on that, please go check out the forums and the YouTube channel for Roy Rogers News on YouTube. It's Best Friends on the forums, correct? Or is it still Roy
Yes.
Rogers on the forums?
Yes, it's Best Friends on Forums and Roy Rogers News on YouTube. And I know that it's a little regret that I have when I start my YouTube channel is that I don't name the YouTube channel Best Friends something, PokeMMO
Mhm.
Best Friends, because I see everybody on YouTube, I check around, like Petrowski, in-game name Petrowski, YoungCabbage, in-game name YoungCabbage. At the time, YouTube, people didn't really connect their in-game name with their YouTube channel, so it makes it a little harder, especially for someone like me, because people are like, wait, your best friend's here, but how about YouTube? So yeah, that's the one little regret that I have with naming my channel Roy Rogers News. One little regret.
Yeah, and now it's become such a popular channel, as well as like such a well-known name, that if you were to swap it now, I don't know if you might run into the same issue there too. You know what I mean? They're like, wait, now I thought this was Roy Rogers. How is it Best Friends now? And then you'd have to go through and explain it to everybody again. But no, it's regardless of whatever awesome name he goes by, please go check out his guides and tutorials. I'm sure again you've already seen them if you've spent any times on the forums or on like looking for PokeMMO videos on YouTube, but he's made some really great quality stuff. And but the one thing I wanted to talk about, segueing, because you were mentioning Giratina as well as Gyarados, is the kind of like raid boss style that PokeMMO's introduced with like
Oh, yeah.
the Ho-Oh rebattle and Giratina in Sinnoh, as well as the Gyarados at the Lake of Rage. I was curious if you've put any thought into if they would add any more of those, or like for example, if they would add any to Hoenn, maybe like a Rayquaza battle or anything like that for whether it's post game or during the actual storyline. Is that something that you think that they could do? Is that something that you would like to see? Kind of, what are your thoughts on that?
Good question. That's a very good question. And I mean, I don't know what the devs are going to do, but I'm going to say this though: whatever they plan on doing, I mean, it's their game, and I trust their judgment. If they want to put in raids and all that, feel free to do that. If the devs are listening, feel free to implement whatever you want to do. I don't want to be the person saying, "Oh, you should be doing this or you shouldn't be doing this," because quite frankly, I don't know what I want. The devs, they get it.
Yeah.
The devs, they're like, "Hey, you want this, don't you?" It's like, yeah, I didn't even know I wanted it, but thank you. kind of reminds me of Steve Jobs. You know who Steve Jobs is from Apple, right?
Hmm.
He essentially he marketed the iPhone, and people said, "I didn't know I wanted an iPhone, but thank you." And that's sort of feeling that I get when I log on PokeMMO. It's like I didn't know I wanted this, but thank you, PokeMMO developers.
Yeah.
So yes, with the Ho-Oh and all that. I mean, I'll put it to you this way. I do think that it's great for player engagement. I mean, the Ho-Oh thing and the Garatina, well, yeah, Garatina, Gyarados. Yeah, I think that's really great for player engagement. I do think that a lot of people love what the devs are coming up with on Pokemon, and I look forward to seeing what their future projects may entail.
Yeah. No, I mean that makes total sense to me. It really is. I mean, the Steve Jobs example is a really great comparison because a lot of the times as players, we have ideas and stuff, but it's like then they drop something random and it's like, "Oh, I didn't know that I wanted that." And now that's my favorite mechanic in the game. Like for me it was the roaming legendaries. I as a kid, I always loved on my DS, especially in Sinnoh, like looking for the lake trio like Uxie, Azelf and Mesprit, like just running to different routes, trying to just encounter it. You know what I mean? The Mesprit that was roaming around or whatever it was. And
Oh yeah.
even in Johto, like looking for those in the old style games. And so doing that with the legendary birds as well as the I'm gonna call them the dogs
Yeah,
in
I would call
Johto.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I forgot we agree on that. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that mindset. But
Yeah.
it's like looking for them is very nostalgic to me at least, and so. But it's something I didn't expect them to add. I just thought, oh, like I don't know if they're gonna add legendaries, but like I guess we'll see. And then now it's every single month I get excited to go like look for the Raikou and Articuno or look for the Moltres or it's just kind of a fun mechanic that's added that you didn't know that we wanted.
Yeah, certainly. And I'm going to say this though. I do think the devs might be trying to get us to fight the legendaries via raids. I mean, we've seen a little bit of this into the holiday event. We saw this with Jirachi, and we saw this with the Heatran. By golly, Heatran is now here, so you fight it via raid. I do think that raids are the future, and I do think the devs are going to focus a little bit more on raids based upon their past rhetoric on forums. I
Yeah.
mean, all I'm going to say to that is I think it's going to help boost the player engagement. And I do think that a lot of people love the idea of, hey, let's go ahead and climb this mountain. And then at the very top, we get awarded with this legendary once you do the climb.
Mhm. Yeah, it's cool. I mean, even the like just seeing the events that they've dropped too, because like I liked the Zodiac trainers. I thought that was pretty cool, but at the same time, this most recent Lunar New Year where you had to go and do the raids, I actually enjoyed more, at least personally. I'm not super amazing at strategizing for raids. It's something I do want to get better at, and I don't have a lot of Pokemon built, but I just think it really is a great like addition to the game because it feels very fresh, right? Like it's any Pokemon game can add different battles you can do, but if you're adding a full on like raid dungeon mechanic and you have four people in a voice chat in Discord or in a team chat, just typing back and forth on trying to coordinate moves and strategize so that way they invest all this time, then they get their Jirachi or they get their Shaman or the Heatran. Like I just completed Heatran I think a week or two ago, and it was such a fun experience. Have you gotten your Heatran yet?
I got my first one. My second one is currently in queue right now. It's saying that
Nice.
that's ready for me, but I've not had the time to be able to fight the Heatran, and I think most of my teammates got it already. So just a matter of like it's sometimes you have a little trouble finding people, but once you do find the right group of people, then you can be able to get heat ran. And people are almost always coming up with strategies. I mean, I made a heat ran video some months ago when heat ran was implemented, but then all of a sudden, count on this content creator.
Mhm.
Hopefully I don't get his name wrong. Junks, uh, Bone Boons or something.
Oh,
Uh,
Jinx Boone.
Yeah, yeah, that guy. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, real. Yeah, I just saw a new strategy came out with about the suction cups artillery, and I've not had the time to breed that up, but I would like to certainly give that a whirl whenever I have the time.
Oh, for sure. No, it's really cool, dude. It's fun too to see all these different creative players like popping up. Like Jinx Boone's a great guy. I've had him. I think I had him on the podcast earlier, and he is a just a very intelligent human being. Like to come up with these different strategies and to brainstorm and really just put the amount of thought and love he does into the game and to all of his videos. It's admirable. Like it really is because I feel like a lot of my stuff it's mostly just shiny hunting or kind of surface level, like ba- kind of basic. I don't want to call them basic videos, but like just silly ideas, like shiny hunter side hustles and stuff. And then raids came out, and I was like, I don't know how useful I'm gonna be during raids. Most of my raids that I participated in, it's been like we'll have one person on my team who's really invested, and I'll kind of just have them tell me. I'm like, you just tell me the Pokemon you need me to prepare, and you're just gonna tell me what to do. Because that is, I'm willing to be there and contribute, but I'm gonna need help because I don't want to mess it up for you.
Oh yeah, certainly. There are some people that, using the climber example, there's some people that are really great hikers. I mean, they have the whole gear and everything, they have the backpack, they have all that stuff. And then people just kind of tag along, the folks that kind of hold on to that hiker guy and they let him do the climb for you, and then you reach the top of the mountain. Either way, both of you get to the top of the mountain, you still get your heat ran.
Yeah. No, it's super cool. It's just such a really cool mechanic. Like one thing, and I might get a little bit nerdy about this, but I had this cool idea, just as a hypothetical for something they could do to add like a raid to the game. I was thinking the other day, like if they added roaming, I don't think that they're necessarily going to, but if they were to add a roaming legendary to every single region, like what would they be? And then also if they were to add like a raid boss to every single region, what would it be? Because we've got Heatran and Sinnoh. We've got Ho-Oh right now. I mean, you can't catch it, but you got like the Ho-Oh rebattle, as well as the Gyarados and Johto, and you have the Giratina and Sinnoh. They're all kind of just stuck in those two regions. I was just trying to
Right.
think the other day. I was thinking it'd be really cool to see them do like I think you pronounce it Kyurem or Kyurem for Unova. I think that being a raid boss would be super cool. In the giant chasm. Uh huh.
Well, I actually want if we're gonna have a raid boss, preferably I like ones that are capable. So I'm
Hmm.
gonna advise for you to go a little bit more into Victini. I think Victini would be
Ah,
a
it's a
great
good
one,
one.
but because Victina you could be able to keep, and then Sinnoh, same thing. You can go for Manaphy, Hoenn. I mean, we already have Jirachi. Jirachi's already dedicated towards the holiday events, but yeah, I mean, in Hoenn, you can have, I don't know, maybe the one of the weaker Lotties, just don't give it soul due, and you should be fine.
Yeah.
And also you know, in Johto, I mean, Celebi is right there for the taking, and
Oh, for
also
sure.
and for Kanto, that is when we could probably have Mew.
That'd be a really cool. It'd be a funny. I don't think it'll ever happen, but what would be a really funny one is if they did. They put the raid den, um, like right next to that truck where all the all of the lore started of how Mew's underneath the truck. It'd be hilarious if that's where the raid den location was.
Well, either that or Mew could probably say, "All right, Mewtwo, I'm moving into Cerulean Cave. Bye." And then
Yeah,
Mewtwo's like, "What?
exactly.
Like, wait, why are you taking my old spot?" And then Mew just puts his raid den right there.
Oh, for sure. No, he just gives him the boot, and he's like, "You can go roam somewhere else. This is my territory now." Oh, it's really fun though. Like it's super cool to think about. Another one, like you were saying, it'd be sick to see Victini in the like if they gave us access to that raid, it would be really cool to see Victini on like Liberty Island. I don't know if you ever caught Victini in the original Black and White games, where you like, pretty sure if you pre-ordered the game, you got um like some little ferry ticket that you could go to that Liberty Garden, I believe it's called, and you like fight Team
Unfortunately, no.
Plasma. Oh yeah,
Unfortunately, unfortunately, no. I've not had that happen. You know.
yeah,
But I remember in Kalos, I did make it to get my Mega Blaziken before it was implemented in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, but that was a long, long time ago, and that's my very last official Pokemon game I've played. So that's the newest Pokemon game. So play it seriously. That is because PokeMMO, I love PokeMMO a lot better because there's just so much online cohesion and that sort of thing.
mhm,
Pokemon, no offense, but there's like when I play the Pokemon games, it feels a sense of
mhm,
aloneness, and and also, I mean, you're kind of playing with a bunch of children.
Yep.
And, I don't know. I just like chatting with my peers a little better. I don't know.
For sure. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, look, someday if I get a wife and kids, all right, maybe I might have a little bit more tolerance. But until then, I want to chat with my peers. And, I like chatting with you, Young Cabbage. I like chatting with a lot of people here in the
Yeah.
podcast. And, you know, and just, I don't want to be playing with a bunch of children who probably had too many Hershey's chocolate bars.
Yeah, they're all hyped up on sugar or something. But yeah, it's super fun. Like I still play through all the mainline games just solo. I do like a little playthrough, and the one thing I will give credit to the original games for, because I totally agree with you. The feeling of just being alone in the world is very like you're basically the only character in the game that feels like you have any like life and depth to you, because you are. And so there is that feeling of like it's just you're just alone in this massive world, especially after playing PokeMMO and seeing all these other people shiny hunting or making money or just like playing through the storyline. It breathes a lot of like new life into the game. But the old, I will say, and one thing that could be just fun to just check out is there's so many cool events and event locations in the older, especially the Game Boy games, like the what is it? Even little things like um Mirage Island, for example, in
Oh
Hoenn,
yeah.
where there's, or the Naval Rock where you could catch Ho-Oh in the Kanto games. Like, there's so many of these little tiny cool events that, at least for me personally, I think would be really cool. I don't know. I get why they're not implemented, but I do think it would be really cool to see some of those things get implemented, even if it was just for the location itself. Because there's so
Well,
many cool different like locations
yeah.
that were kind of blocked out of at least in PokeMMO that I would just love to see.
Yeah, and I don't mean to interrupt your thought. I just want to say that
Mhm.
we do have Birth Island. We do have that. I mean, we can get there once a year with the Jirachi raid. So yeah,
Oh
we do
yeah.
have some of these. We do have some of these locations that are implemented in the original games, kind of like New Moon Island, and you'll be
Hmm.
able to get Darkrai there too. In fact, I've been hatching a fair amount of mons in Birth Island and also in New Moon because yeah, as far as I'm aware, this is the only time I could be able to get there. So, so I got to wait until another holiday event in order to
Yeah.
get back in there. So,
No,
yeah.
it's awesome, and that made me very happy too to see that whenever they implemented like the Darkrai raid as well as the Jirachi one, like they didn't just have you show up to like a random spot on the map. It was like you went to this unique location. It felt very special. Like it was really cool. So I just love to see them add a few more of those other locations, whether it's for, raids in the future or even just like a small little event or something. It'd be really fun.
Oh yeah, certainly. I agree with you with the raids, and it does boost player engagement. There are a lot of people that sometimes they can't stand the whole man. Why don't we have another event? All right, let me go ahead and answer that by saying there's a lot more depth to Pokemon than just event after event after event after event. I
Yeah,
mean, Pokemon, there's so much depth, but it's just a matter of appreciating the game, in my opinion. I think that Pokemon has a lot to offer, and I don't think that event after event after event after event is really a good thing, in my opinion, because it does kind of wear down some people, especially people that take probably months to strategize. How can I be able to do this raid? How can I be able to fight this boss and all that? And I think it's going to wear a lot of people down, in my
mhm,
personal opinion. And also, as for us, the YouTubers, I mean, you relate with this, young cabbage. How much preparation do we have to do when we have to do these events? We have to do a lot of preparation. We're like, hey,
yeah,
we got to look, we got to see, we're constantly checking the update log a lot. And we're like, oh man, let's see, did we miss anything? Oh, right, did I, we're just writing stuff down. And all of a sudden, in the event, you think you understand everything, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you get thrown a curveball, and all of a sudden, Alpha's Suicune. There
yeah,
you go. And good luck. I'm like, okay, so I gotta do Alpha Suicune, and it's like, oh no, no, too late. Can't post a video on that because everybody has a video about Alpha Suicune. So it's just a matter of like kind of doing juggling in real time and just constantly having that back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And yeah, I mean, events, I mean, they are exciting, but sometimes they're very, I guess you can say, packed for us. I mean, we have,
for sure.
so yeah, that's just my personal opinion about about events. I like them, but at the same time, as long as we don't have them very often, I think that having events like that, I think, are really good because it does boost engagement. At the same time, the older players or players with YouTube channels don't get burned out.
Oh, for sure. No, I think that's very valid as well. Like I do personally feel like the events are pretty back to back. Like I mean, you got like for example, after Lunar New Year, there's not really an event until Halloween, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, and that's time where we can strategize. Like we can say,
Oh,
hey,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
like how can we be able to approach this event? And there's a fair amount of people that say, why don't we have another event? It's like, hey, why don't you use this time to breed up some resources? You might thank yourself later. And it's
Hmm.
like, no, no, I want an event now. And it's like, well, you don't understand. Like, do you understand the long term? Like, you could be able to breed stuff, you could be able to hatch stuff, EV train, and you could do all that stuff. And then by the time the next event season rolls around, at least you're not constantly running, like saying, "Oh no, I need this Pokemon right now." So,
Yeah, plus a lot of times people who have that mindset, they like again like you said, it really is just a lack of appreciation for the game and for the other beautiful like amazing things you can do in the game, right? Like you could use that time and say, "Okay, that was awesome. I got some cool, you know, I made some cool investments during this event season. I got some cool Pokemon, I did some fun raids. Now I'm going to kick back and I'm going to teach myself how to get into PvP over the summer and just take that time to like build up a few PvP Pokemon. I'm watching a few guides on. I'm seeing this guide that just came out and about a Sun team that I need to prepare because they've been pretty useful and like these Pokemon have been useful in raids. So let me prepare some Pokemon so that way the next time the raids come in Halloween, because they come very quickly. It's Halloween, like basically immediately into Christmas, immediately into Lunar New Year, and so you get these three massive events that are they're not exactly back to back, but they're very soon after each other. So it's like you should be preparing all year to have like the Pokeyen and the Pokemon and the resources to fully enjoy those events. Otherwise, like you said, you're going to have a bunch of people who are complaining, well, why don't I have an event every month? Why don't I have an event? But then Halloween comes around and they don't even have like a Chandelure made or like a crocodile made for the pumpkin, and then they're like, well, I need this now, and then they spend too much Pokeyen on buying one, and it's just I feel like people like that, if that's your mindset with the game, you'll never truly be happy. You need to just kind of slow down and appreciate the like really just nail down what you want to do in the game, look at all of your options, and then just start preparing and investing time into understanding the game to like a deeper depth. You know what I mean?
oh yeah, certainly. Yeah, and going along with your thread here, I do think that the more prepared players tend to come out a lot richer after the event,
For
and
sure.
yeah, and then you can be able to get more resources, and you just keep building that snowball. It's like, hey, let me go and use this time to prep, and you just kind of build it into your schedule. And it's
Hmm.
great.
No, it's super fun, and it's like, I admittedly like I've been one of those people before where this year specific or 2024 specifically the events I was very underprepared. Again, like real life stuff happened where I needed to move states and XYZ, and so
Right.
it put me in a position to where whenever I came back for the Halloween event and these other events, I had no Pokemon prepared. I had to spend more Pokeyen than I wanted to get the vanities that I wanted and to build the Pokemon that I needed to complete these different raids and to participate, and it felt like I was drinking out of a fire hose, when in reality, if I would have had the free time in the summer or like invested that time earlier, it would have been significantly easier, and I probably would have made a lot more Pokeyen from those events and from investments, because you do it, you run the Elite Four every day or you plant Leppas every day and you save up that money. Well, event season comes and you see a cool vanity that you think is going to be worth a lot, so you invest, you buy 15 of them, then the price spikes because people want them, and now you've just made a lot of money over an event, and then you just rinse and repeat, you prepare again. And I feel like that's how a lot of these players build these really cool collections of not only vanities but like a really kind of fat wallet in PokeMMO to be able to do whatever they want and buy leppas to shiny hunt and vanities that they like. right? It's just that little bit of investment that compounds.
Yeah, and I made a video. This sounds a lot like the money making video I made about 1 or 2 years ago, but I made a money making video, and it basically, near the end of the video, described a little bit of a game plan of what people can do and how to build up the snowball.
Hmm.
And it kind of goes along with what you said. Like you could be able to build up the snowball. You could be able to, start up a service, and then after that, then you can do gem runs, and then once you have enough money to do that, then try to learn how to flip things, and then it just kind of progresses from there. And then investments kind of help aid with that, and it's kind of in general, it's kind of like real life in a way. It's like real life where
Hmm.
you build up, and then eventually there's either going to be times where things might not work and sometimes where things do work, and you have to kind of brace for that.
Yeah.
So yeah, so PokeMMO, in my opinion, has a perfect balance of in terms of event prep season events. That
Yeah.
Yes, that's just my take on it.
No, I would agree with you too. Like I'm one of those people where I do think like it would be cool for them to do some kind of a summer event or do some kind of a like if they did an anniversary event every year, I think that'd be cool. But at the same time, if it means that they're going to continue to produce events that are as good as the ones like that, like these most recent ones, which I thought all of them were amazing, and like I thought they went all out on the vanities. They did a great job on the raids and the introducing like the Darkrai orb and these other cool mechanics. Like I'd be cool if they released one event a year if they put that much love and dedication into it. That's just kind of my take is because the other thing to consider is if you're cranking out events every single month or even if they were to add one or two more events, it's a lot more taxing on them. And so the quality does have a significant, the odds of the quality going down are higher because they're like, well, shoot, we have to meet this deadline or we need to push out these 6 events now this year versus the 3. So we don't have as much time and like to invest the energy required to make them good. Does that make sense?
Yeah, not to mention the fact that if the devs have other ambitions, like let's just say they want to implement a new region and that sort of thing, then they would have to take a little bit of some of their time to make these events.
For sure.
And and then it takes time away from them developing another region or developing to finish up a certain region that, might have some things that are function not yet implemented, those things,
Mhm.
the devs might want to work on that. I don't know. Maybe the devs might not care, maybe they do. But regardless, I want to give them the option. I want to say, hey, let's go ahead and do, Trick House in Hoenn, or let's go and do the rest of the Battlefront here in Hoenn. I don't know what the devs have planned, but I want to give them that space to work.
Mhm.
If there's an old expression, and the expression goes something like this: too many cooks spoil the broth. And when I say too many cooks, I'm not referring to too many developers. I mean too many cooks as in a lot of people on Pokemon just kind of visit there, and then they like the event, but then they insist on rushing into the kitchen and urging the chefs to keep cooking until they get
Yep.
tired.
No, exactly. And it's a good way it's a really good way to look at it because it's I don't know. I've always just been in the camp that like regardless you rather than looking at what's wrong and what else needs like what else can I get? What else can I get? It's like look at the cool community and everything that they've built and like the fun events that they do have and spend your time appreciating that and preparing for those. And then once you've done that, like of course you can chat about different ideas and things that you think would be cool for your like that you would like to see in the game, right? Like maybe you're really into I don't think we would ever get this, but I think it'd be awesome if we did. But like the Pokeathlon Dome in Johto, like maybe you love that and you really want to see that implemented. Okay, well, like you said, the devs are going to need time to implement something like that or any of these other features. And if we're constantly trying to bombard them with like I need more events, I need this, I need that, it's like okay, well that's taken their energy away from the other little fun features that they could be adding or even simple quality of life features like the basically how they implemented strings in a way by adding the instant text option. Like that's a huge quality of life feature And I'm assuming that one of the biggest reasons they're able to add these little features is because they have the time to do so.
Oh yeah, certainly. The devs, when there's like months and months of time for development, I mean the devs can really come up with a lot of different stuff throughout those months. They don't have to be like, oh no, there's a deadline.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
yeah, they get to come up with all these other creative things. But yeah, but going back to our original topic here, I do want to kind of touch a little bit upon this.
Mhm.
So basically, player welfare. We talked a little bit about this in the segment here. And I would say that people need a good mindset on PokeMMO. And actually, I made a video on about this too with Kaio. And yeah, actually, Kaio introduced me to you. So
Oh,
yeah,
sick.
yeah,
Yeah, Kyle.
yeah. So Kaio, we did a video about player betterment and that sort of thing. And one of the things that we talked about is having a positive mindset, working very hard, and not being envious. Those are the three basic cores of what it takes to be a really great player, in my
Mhm.
opinion, because all it takes is that one envious thought and it takes you back significantly.
Yeah.
And, and also as for the other two, I mean, it's good to have an excellent work ethic. I mean, by golly, I'm Pokemon. I can't tell you how many times I'm constantly strategizing about things, thinking like, "Oh, how can I be able to do this better? How can I be able to do that?" And yeah, then having a positive attitude on Pokemon, not having an adversarial attitude, but having like, "Hey, let's go ahead and play Pokemon. Let's go and see what we can accomplish today." And I think we can get a fair amount of stuff done. Not like,
Yeah.
you know, wh- why aren't the devs working on this? Well, man, there's so
Yeah.
many people that do this. Like, you know, you might want to smell the roses a bit.
Yeah.
Basically,
No, yeah, I think that's a very good point.
yeah. So it's basically the premise of that video is, basically smell the roses.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, which is a very good argument too, just not only for the game, but for just about everything in life is you can always hyperfixate on the problems or on the things that aren't implemented or on, things that you want to see that need changed in your opinion. But like I feel like if that's your mindset, you're never gonna be super happy with it. Because it's like of course there's gonna be somebody walking around with the shiny you want, or maybe it's an older player that walks around with a vanity you really like, and these things are even borderline unattainable, but it's if you keep focusing on that and feeling picked on for yourself, well, it's like one, it's never gonna change your situation. Like feeling bad for yourself isn't gonna magically give you Pokeyen. And then on top of that, it's like all it's going to do is dampen your experience. So just make your own goals, figure out a few things that you want to do to enjoy the game, and just try it all. Like I think that's a really good video topic and thing to push out to a lot of players is just like let's just keep a positive mind.
yeah, that's why I have it as the head of my player betterment series in my playlist, and that's why I have that video as the head of the videos there. Because
Mhm.
I want people to watch it. I want people to say, "Hey, these are three different things that people should be able to do." But yeah, but I do think that going back to what you're saying about things being near impossible, I mean, technically, it's not impossible. I've seen
Mhm.
people that are younger than me in player years, and they have more rare vanities than I do, and they're even richer than me. But they're but they're younger than me. They're
Yeah.
younger than me, and they have a bit of that drive. So as long as you have that drive, I mean, you can get anything done. Just as long as you follow the rules, and as long as you're willing to hustle, you should be
Yeah.
just fine. I know a lot of people like that.
Oh, for sure. Plus it's cool too because one thing that's really fun about it as well is there's so many different ways to make money in the game. And so it's not just like Pokemon isn't tied to one specific activity. Like you could buy and catch breeding boxes if you wanted to shiny hunt something. You could go and farm items. You could do gym runs. You could do Elite Four reruns. You could battle Ho-Oh and Red every single week, or go and do Leppas. Or you could even just buy and flip things on the GTL. Like there's so many ways. Like it just takes a little bit of creativity to kind of find what you enjoy in the game, and I feel like a lot of people tend to overlook that because they're again like we talked about they're hyper fixated on well what else needs to be added, what else can I get versus like how can I make my own fun little experience here and like contribute to the community.
Yeah, I just want to say that. Player development, I feel like, is probably one of the most important overlooked things that a lot of people on PokeMMO don't tend to think about. Like player development, like you might have the strategies,
Mhm.
but if you don't develop the skills, you're still going to get nowhere. You can have the
Yeah.
money. Like money and knowledge goes together in game very well. If you
Mhm.
don't have the knowledge, then you might as well splurge on a really good shiny because well, by that
Yeah.
rate, you don't know how to spend that money. But if you know where to spend that money, that's the key way to be successful in Pokemon is money and knowledge.
Mhm.
And if you have the knowledge, the best part about it is that you can be able to get money, right? Like you have knowledge, like, hey, I want to do a service. There you go. You get paid money. Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. So then you just keep snowballing that. So yeah, so money and knowledge goes together very well. So try to learn, have an open mind, and then doors can start opening for you.
No, for sure. I think that's really cool. It's a really fun topic too that I feel like a lot of people don't touch on. I think it was one of my I mean, I went into some depth, not as great a depth as your as the series that you were mentioning on YouTube that you've had for it for like the player betterment, I believe you called it. Um
Pokemon Player Betterment Series.
yeah. Yeah, so I didn't go into as great a depth, but I remember um like just posting a video on like my simple goals. And a lot of people in my first team, whenever I started playing the game, they were like, I've never actually sat down and defined what I wanted to do in the game. Like, I've just always kind of played and, just gone through the motions. But, like, it was fun for me to see because I thought whenever I posted the video, I mean, it was still very newer. So I was like, hyper analyzing. Like, I don't know if people are going to watch this. Like, I'm sure you felt similar towards the beginning as well where like I created this video and I was like, I don't know if people are going to be super interested in this, but I hope they will be. And then they ended up I ended up being one of my videos that people really resonated with and people found helpful because it really kind of blows my mind how many people don't sit down and go, okay, my goal for right now in the game is I really like the White Rabbit plush. So I need 50 million Pokeyen. And so I'm going like what can I do to earn that? And like what service can I provide? How can I earn it the fastest? What methods do I find fun so I can still have fun while I'm earning it? And then they get that and then you get that sense of accomplishment and then it's like, "Okay, let's sit down and pick the next goal." Like that's something that I feel like should be widespread knowledge, but a lot of people don't go into great depth and actually define what they're doing. They're just turning it on and playing a game like they would any other game?
Right. Yeah, certainly. I mean, if you think about it, it's life is sort of like a game in a way. Like
Mhm.
just like Pokemon, life is sort of like a game in that you see that guy, that neighbor next door, you see him with a really nice car, you could work hard for that car. You could be able to try to get yourself a job, maybe you can try to get yourself a promotion, a few years into the corporation and then maybe you can get a pay raise, stuff like that. Life
Yeah.
is sort of like a game sometimes. Sometimes you have to get a promotion. For me personally, I know YouTube memberships. I mean, for me, I got to provide value to my donors. I have to
Mhm.
figure out, like, hey, what is something that my donors are interested in, and I say, hey, I think I know what value. Oh yeah, I can do a walkthrough of Pokemon. And then Pokemon recently adjusted their rules to where I'm allowed to cover their game behind a paywall. So it's like, hey, why don't I provide Pokemon playthrough of Kanto, right? And
Yeah.
if people want to see a little bit more of me, maybe personal story, they get to see me doing a playthrough of Kanto behind a paywall. And then the hidden items are under I put the timestamps for that in the comments section, and I make sure to pin that. But yeah, besides that, I mean, I try to provide value to my donors and that sort of thing, but life has all these little facets. So just like that. I mean, let's just say I don't know, maybe you're working in the office. You try to figure out how can I be able to punch certain numbers in to be able to make the company some money. How can I be able to do that? As long as it's ethical, as long as it's ethical. I do want to
Yeah.
emphasize that. But how can I be able to punch some numbers? Maybe I could be able to do this differently. Maybe I'll be able to approach this sale differently. Stuff like that.
Mhm.
And Pokemon kind of has the same thing. Like, hey, how can I be able to make this money? Oh yeah, I can go on forums. I can start up a service. Oh, what? I mean, I don't barely have anything. Why can I start a service on? Oh, wait a minute. I got my Venusaur as a starter. Oh yeah. Want to teach my Venusaur Earthquake? Oh, Venusaur also has Sweet Scent too. Wow. Hey, look, I could be able to do my leveling. I could do EV training. hey, look at that. And also you get clients, and all of a sudden you upgrade that Venusaur to a Teddy Ursa with Sweet Scent and Earthquake and Hyper Voice. And there
Mhm.
you go. You upgraded your resource. But no, no, I'm not done yet. Then you can be able to upgrade to, I don't know, some gym resources. Maybe you can start looking and seeing how people do their gym runs. Maybe you can start figuring out how to flip on the gold trade link if you're not interested in doing gym runs. Just stuff like that. You constantly try to build up higher and higher and higher, and then eventually you could be able to, climb that mountain. And it's a great
Yeah.
feeling once you're on top.
Oh, 100%. No, it's super cool, and I remember it's at least personally, like, my specifically 2 things that stand out to me were, whenever I first started, obviously, the ghost costume is, like, my end all goal, which I knew that one was gonna take a while, so I kinda set, like, little fun milestone goals as well. One of those, the first one was that I really wanted the green Unity cape, and I
Right.
vividly remember I made some really good investments. I went really hard, like flipping envelopes during the Lunar New Year event, and I finally hit the required amount of Pokeyen, and I bought it. And it's like it's such a fun vanity to have now. And then the second, of course, was just the shiny Muna. Like I went so dry in the Muna spot, but I
Right.
wanted it really bad because I like that green color, like the little yellow and green. And I did encounter after encounter. I would leave that spot and do a few other encounters elsewhere, then get the shiny, and I was like getting frustrated. But like you said, after you climb the mountain and you finally see it shine on your screen, or you get to purchase the vanity and like flex it around, like it really does become kind of a cool. I want to be careful with the word, like with the term sense of pride, but you know what I mean. Like where you're proud of yourself for achieving your goal. It's a really like exciting feeling, you know.
Right. Yeah. A sense of accomplishment, but at the same time, you're not really flaunting that in front of the public, because
Hmm.
you got to be careful also. If you do reach a milestone, you have to be careful who you tell that to, because if I accomplish certain milestone and maybe I tell some newer player that just got the Cerulean City, I'm gonna make that newer player feel awful. And that newer players are gonna say, I'm never gonna achieve this. And the newer player just quits the game. So be very careful who you tell that to. So
Hmm.
I would say if there's a lot of people that are very rich in game, or people that are, very rich in you say, hey, I accomplished this and that. The super rich players are like, oh, congratulations. Yeah, and they already accomplished that goal. So it's not
Yeah,
like you're discouraging them. They give you a pat on the back, say, hey, I remember back when I was in your position at one time.
yeah.
But yeah, but just be careful who you tell that to, because you don't want someone to quit the game because of you.
For sure. Yeah, I do think it's about how you present the information too, because it goes back to your conversation about being envious, where like you can still be happy for somebody. Like I met this really cool player who came back to the game. He has a lot of 2012 Pokemon, and he had the ghost costume, and I just reached out to him and I was like, "Hey man, just wanted to let you know, like my biggest goal is I'm going for that ghost costume, and like it's awesome that you have it. Like thank you for, like I saw him drive by, and I was like, thanks for driving by, because you just gave me motivation. Like I stopped shiny hunting and I went and did a gym run because I saw him, and it was like he responded and he was like, "Yeah, dude, no worries. Like best of luck with it." Like he's like, "It's a super fun vanity. Like I can't wait to twin someday." And so it's like a really positive interaction because of how I chose to like view it. You know what I mean? Versus if I were to look at that and be like, "Oh, like I can't believe he already has it and I'm never going to get there." It's kind of more on me. It's like you really got to be careful to not be envious of those things and just to kind of work on your own craft, so to speak, right?
Right. Yeah, certainly. I mean, try to improve yourself, and then don't be envious. Oh, give another example.
Hmm.
YouTube, our profession. Well, we can be chatting about how much, like, oh man, we're never gonna reach the height that Petrowski reaches. Man, look at
Yeah.
this. And then actually my teammates, they pick on me quite a bit. They're like, why do I need to watch you? Oh, we got Petrowski. And they kind of pick on me. It's like guys, but anyways, in all seriousness, so Pat's a great guy. I've been friends with him since 2015. I knew him before he was famous. Great guy, and I
Mhm.
saw him on your podcast too. He's a really great guy. He really is.
He's
You,
always been cool to me as well. He's pretty dope.
yeah, but what I'm saying is that maybe I might not achieve what Petrowski has achieved, but I can try to be good in the field that I'm in on
Yeah.
Pokemon. That's all it, like, for example, just the other day I actually released a video about, evolving Scyther and the Caesar via the metal coat. I know
Hmm.
that's an old update from Johto. I know that a lot of people in the comment section they got me quite a bit. It's like, hey Roy, why are you talking about an old update? But the reason why I'm talking about it is because there are too many newer players out there that don't know this is a mechanic. Too many
Hmm.
newer players are like, I still see them in globals like, hey, can someone help me evolve my Scyther? And I'm looking at the global chat like, that's a video idea. I gotta make a video about this. I gotta make it. And then it's like
Yeah.
another person, hey, can someone help me evolve my Electabuzz? I'm like, I gotta make this video. And then it's like after like the last person saying Scyther, in the global chat, it's like, someone please help. It's like, okay, that's it. I'm planning this video. Let's go and write this thing down. I'm gonna plan this. I'm gonna have a really nice co-host, Pumpkin, who has been really nice to me, by the way. So
Mhm.
thank you so much to Pumpkin. She has a really great Twitch channel. But yeah, actually, I met her while I was filming a YouTube membership series. So
Oh, cool.
yeah, yeah. So I was filming my Kanto walkthrough, and then actually in my most recent episode, part four. I don't know when this podcast is going to be released, but in part four of the Kanto walkthrough, she actually co-starred in it, and yeah, we were both of us are millennials, so we did kind of make some millennial jokes from time to time. Yeah,
Mhm.
I guess we're sort of the older population on Pokemon. Oh, oh, we did talk about stuff like Power Rangers and all that stuff, but
Oh,
I'm sure that
nice.
thanks. It's like, but yeah, I don't think if someone from Gen Z watched the episode, they might get some references and maybe they might not. But just us kind of relaying our life experiences as the millennial generation.
That's awesome though. That's super fun to hear. And I mean, that's like you said, it just goes I feel like all of our conversations have kind of led to the same point, funnily enough, where it's all about your mindset with it, right? Like you could see that video, it's like, okay, well, I know how to evolve a Scyther with a metal coat, but not everyone does. So like that's awesome that the video was made. Versus going and being like, why are you doing this? I already know this. It's like, okay, well, if you already know it, then the video probably wasn't meant for you. So you could be happy and just kind of like move on with it. It's just a really funny mindset to see that some people have where they'll feel the need to jump on and say stuff like that. I always find it a little bit silly.
No, well, I know for me personally, actually, I even made that video a short. I even made a short about evolving Scyther in the Caesar, just so the message can be spread even further. Because I know there's
Yeah.
some people that don't like long form anymore, so I've made it into a little short too, so that people like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, so I could evolve Scyther in the Caesar. Okay, yeah, all right. So I just like kind of show that in real time. I show myself using the metal coat, not just giving it to Pumpkin, but actually using that metal coat.
Yeah. No,
So
exactly. It's cool. And it's informative too for anyone who, like you said, is a newer player. Maybe they didn't play through the Johto games and they don't have the base knowledge to build off of. So still invaluable information, you know?
yeah, and I do want to take a brief period of time. I do want to thank Pumpkin for funding the Scyther. I had to buy it from the casino so it doesn't wreck my decks because I filmed this on a fresh account. So actually,
Oh yeah.
it's the account that I use for YouTube memberships. So it's
Oh
the
cool.
walkthrough, walkthrough series. So yeah, it's just like a standard Roy Rogers News walkthrough, except yeah, I do the hidden items and all that. But like I said, the only difference that it is behind a paywall. I do plan to revisit Hoenn and all the other regions and kind of give a fresh sort of perspective to that too,
Yeah.
because I've done walkthroughs for these regions, but Hoenn I did when Hoenn first came out on PokeMMO. A few years, like what I did that walkthrough almost about a decade ago. So it's
Yeah.
like ever since then, Pokemon has changed so much with Hoenn and all those other regions. So I want to be able to revisit them, under the the Briars account. That's the name of the account that I use, Briars.
Oh, cool. No, I think that's a super creative idea. It's fun to see too, and it's speaking of that as like a little segue too. As we're getting because it's as we're getting to the end of it, what is the like some of your few projects that is there anything you're working on that you want to shout out? I mean, I know we talked about like your payday video, your Ditto video, anything exciting, kind of tell people where they can find you and just use the time to just kind of plug yourself and talk about what you're working on.
Basically, for my closing thoughts, I do want to say that I try my best to work on guides on PokeMMO, and I try to provide useful information to everybody. And on YouTube, I do try to make certain videos, and that's the things that are coming up. You kind of caught me at a time when a fair amount of the things that are coming up already happened.
Mhm.
So yeah, so I I don't really have much coming up as of the time of this taping. However, there might be some things that might be coming up. Maybe someone might post, "Hey, there might be a brand new Pokemon idea." Speaking about that, I want to touch on that briefly.
Yeah.
So, one of the ideas about making cartoon characters, Catchmons, and all that actually came from Cosmuth. So, Cosmuth, what happens is that he linked me his Bisharp, and I remember he gave it a name like, the planet, Mars. So
Yeah.
what happened was that I thought he was going for Marvin the Martian because I saw him as like, hey, that's probably not a bad idea. And so I decided to make a video about Marvin the Martian and how can you use him in the teleport situation. And
Yeah.
yeah, I was showing the audience how to work that. And in a way, I felt like that it might have made the video a little bit more relatable. So, Marvin the Martian, you could just say, "Oh, I'm going to make a video about Bisharp."
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, but what happens if the audience falls asleep? And I don't want people to fall asleep. So that's when I'm like, hey, Marvin the Martian. But I gotta thank Cosmuth because Cosmuth came up with that idea originally because he named the Pokemon after that, and so I want to give him credit for that. And
Nice.
also, yeah, and so when I came up with Smeargle for my Ditto video, I actually named it Snoopy, like Snoopy Peanut, from the
Yeah.
cartoon. So yeah, just to kind of help the video attach a little better.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, in general, for me, I try my best to provide content that could be found as helpful. And if you want to check out my work, feel free to check me out on Roy Rogers News. And if you would like to become a YouTube member, you can subscribe to 99 cents a month on Roy Rogers News. And yeah, you could be able to see my walkthroughs. Just let me know what your in-game name is because I do take a picture of you and I do want to use your thumbnail as I do want to use your in-game sprite as a future thumbnail for my videos. But besides that, yeah, feel free to come on the Roy Rogers News channel. If you don't want to be a YouTube member, that's fine. You can come along for the ride, and we can you can see me make videos about Ditto or trade evolutions and all that. And feel free to check out my work on forums and everything.
Nice, dude. Yeah, I mean, again, I feel like you have a PokeMMO resume that speaks for itself between all of your helpful guides and just amazing videos. So I really speak on behalf of everyone when I say thank you for everything you do and for being such a positive force in the community.
Oh, no problem. But yeah, I do want to say that Young Cabbage, it is an honor for me to promote you early on, back when Johto was just being implemented. And you know what? I do want to ask you one question though before you go.
Yeah.
How on earth did you start the Young Cabbage YouTube channel? I know a lot of people are probably wondering about that.
Yeah, just like where the idea came from and how it just originally started.
Yeah, like how did you start up the Young Cabbage YouTube channel?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I've always I don't know. It's always been a passion of mine, like Pokemon, and I've just loved being able to nerd out about it. In like finding PokeMMO, it was like another creative outlet for me to nerd out about one of my favorite passions. I could go into depth on Pokemon and shiny hunt and be part of a team and actually play together because kind of like we mentioned in the original games, you can't really do that. You're kind of what feels like alone in the world. Like I never really had a lot of friends who played Pokemon, and so I would always play through the game solo. Like I wouldn't really ever complete the Pokedex or anything, because I would never, just chat with random people to get me to trade or anything. So playing PokeMMO has been such a fun experience, and as well, one thing that I've always thought was cool is as a kid, sitting down and watching all of these fun YouTube videos about the Pokemon games that I loved. And all it did was get me more invested and more exciting, like excited for all these different changes and these new games coming out. And so whenever I saw that there were people making videos like that for PokeMMO, I just kind of had that quiet thought to myself of like, man, that would be a really fun way to continue to nerd out about like my favorite passions, as well as just like get to know people a little bit better in the community, like become somebody that like can help other people. And as well, like it would allow me to get to meet cool people, like not even just to butter you up, but I mean I'm able to chat with you, which is awesome because whenever I first started, like I said before I chatted with you, your guides were things that I were using regularly. And so it's just been such a great experience, and it really just started one day randomly of I really want to try YouTube. I want to figure it out. I love this game and I love Pokemon, so I'm just going to make a video and see if anyone enjoys it. And that was my only expectation. And I think that's kind of to answer your question the long way. I kind of think that's um, where my passion to start the YouTube channel started, was just really wanting to just get deeper involved in the community and to express myself in a creative way, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, certainly. You do have your signature cabbage patch, and I see that on YouTube and all that. And I do want to say at the same time, though, you told me in the previous episode that you were encouraged by some people on PokeMMO to make that apricorn video. How did that work out? Like how was that strategized?
Yeah, so it literally was just in my old, what was it? One of my friends that got me into the game. I actually was like friends with this person in real life. He's the one who kind of got me back into the game because I tried it at one point and then just got caught up with other games. But he got me back into it, and I remember him saying, "Oh, it's cool. Like they added apricorns. Like I'd love to see like." But nobody's made a video on like where to find the apricorns or anything, like or like a route to farm them or necessarily what they do. And I remember telling him, because he didn't play Pokemon as a kid, I remember telling him like, "Oh, it's cool. Like this apricorn turns into this Pokeball. This is where you do it." And he was like, "Well, why don't you just make a video on it?" And I remember being like, "Well, I don't know. Like I guess I could." And then I told my team about it, and they were supportive and kind of pushed me to make the video and just said, "Just do it. It'll be fun. Like we'll all go check it out, and it'll just be a fun experience." And then snowball effect from there, and here we are, and it's just been such a fun experience.
Oh yeah, certainly. Yeah, and I wish you all the best with your YouTube ventures. And man, I do look forward to seeing this podcast because I remember
Hmm.
we filmed one last time, and I was like, man, I really like chatting with you, and I just like the dynamic between both of us.
Oh yeah, it's always a fun time, man. Like I always have a good time chat with you as well. So again, thank you for coming on, and I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, certainly.
Huge thank you again to Roy Rogers News, or Best Friends. Such a great guy, honestly. Super good time chat with him. Funnily enough, I think you heard it in the podcast, but that was actually our second attempt at recording that podcast episode. We did another really fun session of recording a few months ago, and then my recording software actually got corrupted, and I lost my files, which set me back a good amount. But I was very grateful that he was willing to be understanding and flexible and record a second one. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that one, and make sure to check him out in the comments. Now let's move on to the forum post of the week and the catch events of the week. Just this little kind of section here at the end. First, we're going to start off with the catch events of the week. I was only able to find one on the forums as of right now. Again, I'm just getting back into this, so if there are more, please let me know. But the one I was able to find is called Berry Cool Place. That takes place Saturday, the 12th of April. This will be held by Cosmuth. And let's scroll down here. It looks like it will start at 19 UTC, where you'll be catching a variety of Pokemon to try and get a shiny Cubchoo. This does come at level 1 with your choice of nature, 2 moves, 3 selectable IVs, and 1000 RPs. Super good reward. Really cute shiny Pokemon. I actually found 2 of them while I was looking for Cryogonal, but we don't talk about that. Still a great Pokemon to go for. So if you don't have one of these, or if you just want to participate in that catch event, again, it is going to be on the 12th of April, and it will take place at 19 UTC. So make sure to convert that to your own time zone and figure out what time it is so you can be there and enjoy this catch event. Moving on to the forum post of the week, it's actually going to be the one that we mentioned in the podcast, the Payday Pokemon Selection Pros and Cons Included. By Best Friends, the eternal mayor of PokeMMO. Let me correct myself. But basically, he goes over a variety of all of the Pokemon that can use Payday in the game, the pros, the cons, and he kind of ranks them based off of their stats, their usage, their viability, speed, attack, all that kind of stuff. So if you're interested in that video and you want to make some extra Pokeyen by doing Payday pickup, or just doing Payday, please make sure to check out this video linked below, because it is, or this forum post linked below. I'm getting ahead of myself, because the YouTube video of the week actually ties into it as well. The YouTube video of the week is top 10 Payday Pokemon for PokeMMO. It's again a phenomenal resource and something that I think everybody should at least sit down and watch. because it really is just a fully in-depth guide. Like you'll fully understand what I mean whenever I say that he makes great guides on YouTube, because you can really just tell the love and dedication he puts into all of these different videos. Go give him some love, drop a sub while you're there. But basically, that one's just top 10 payday Pokemon for PokeMMO. So yeah, whether you're sick of using your Meowth or you're somebody who wants to get into paydaying, just go ahead and check out that video below. But that's going to do it for episode 14. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this episode and you guys are excited for the PokeMMO podcast to make a comeback. I know I personally am, and it is something that has been bugging me for a while, that I stopped uploading as frequently as I was. But again, real life situations aside, I should be able to start posting more frequently. So if you did enjoy this and you're looking forward to the next one, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Leave a like, leave a dislike if you think there's something that could be improved, and please comment below your thoughts. And I will see you guys in episode 15.